Today we are going to be replacing the main board inside of the Hubsan Zino. We have a burned out Wi-Fi module and we are replacing the whole board within the quad. So I'm going to first show you how to take it apart, and then I'm going to show you how to replace the main board. First, you're going to need to remove this black cover. There's a few tools you can do that with. This is a really good tool that I've gotten for working on cell phones. And it's just simply a very thin piece of metal, very flexible. But you're going to want to get under the side of the black cover, and from there it just snaps off. Remove the cover. Take the button. Be careful not to lose that. Then you have two screws here. You're also going to want to remove the tape that covers the screws in the shoulders. For this I use a razor blade, or in this case I'm using a scalpel. Peel back the tape and remove the disc underneath, which is in there with glue or tape, like a 3M tape. Remove that, it's sticky. And there you see the screw. Go on the other side and do the same thing. Remove the disc on this one. And there's the shoulder screw for that, and the shoulder screw for that. So these are the screws we'll want to remove, along with the screws up here in the gimbal and here in by the shoulder joints. So we'll start by removing these. If you own other Hubsan products that come with Phillips screwdrivers, those work nicely, or use your own. Remove these two screws. Flip it over so they come out. One came out, one did not. It's okay, we'll just leave it alone. Remove the screws in the shoulders. I'm sorry, we forgot to do the ones up here in the gimbal. Remove this screw and the screw on the adjacent side. And I'm not getting on it. Doesn't feel like it. There we go. Now the other side. remove the white bracket. It's a bracket and it works as a guard. Now we want to remove the guard in the front. It works as a guard to protect the gimbal. It only has one screw. Remove it. Set it aside. We already removed our screws in the shoulders. Don't lose these little white discs. Now remove the two bottom screws. One very important thing I did not remember, don't forget to unplug your battery. Now we can take the cover off gently to the side. You have a plug here and a plug here. Both of them have some glue on them, some silicone, and I like to just use a razor blade. I know you probably cannot see this very well, but use a razor blade and cut a score right here, and the other side score the silicone there. I'm going to do that real quick. So now you want to gently get your fingernail up underneath there and unplug it, and do the same for this side. And put the cover aside. Now that we have the cover off, we're going to want to remove these parts so we can get the board out. So we're going to take the barometer and take it loose with the two screws. It won't come out, just let it stay. Okay, take the barometer. Be very careful, this is very fragile. Lay it aside, just like that. This cover just snaps into place. Again, a tool like this, or one of these tools, or one of these tools that looks like a guitar pick. These all come with cell phone kits. They're very handy for things like this, or simply some sort of a razor utility knife, craft knife or something works as well. But this cover here, you want to remove it. First time coming off, it can be a little tight. There's glue there. And it snaps right here. Take that cover off. Put it aside. Now we want to be very careful because we have our connection here, and we also have a connection underneath the board, and we also have two Wi-Fi antennas plugged in underneath this cover. So we are going to remove or unplug this connection, and then we're going to remove the screws that hold the board, lift it out, and unplug the connection, the ribbon cable underneath. So take these two screws out of the back, here and here. Two screws in the front. Again, be very careful with this ribbon cable to your barometer. It's very fragile. I wouldn't even unplug it right now, just leave it alone. And you're going to have glue here on this connection. You want to be very careful and just score it to break it loose. And carefully unplug it. In this case, we have a bad board. We're not worried about it. We are just going to pull it out and replace this whole board. So we're not worried about that. So now we want to lift up this board, but be careful with this cable here. And unplug or peel this piece of tape. I'm sorry. Be very careful with this as well because you have two plugs underneath it. Be careful not to hurt the plugs. Okay, I'm going to pull out some of this extra glue. Unplug the gimbal plugs and the connectors. Again, do all of this carefully. Okay. Peel them back. And now we're going to lift the board out. And again, you want to lift this way. Be very careful because we have a connection underneath here, which I don't know if you can see right here. We have to unhook that connector, which has some glue on it, but it looks like it's not too much, so I might be able to just get it to come off. Yep. And we are unhooked. And my screw for my barometer came out. Move those over there. Okay, so now you have a piece of foam over top of the barometer plug. I want to be very careful in removing that. And you'll see the barometer has a very tiny plug. And that's what plugs in right here. You want to be extremely careful with this. Now we want to get this cover off and unplug our Wi-Fi antennas. And it's going to take a little bit of prying on the corners of this cover, and it's not real easy to get them to come up. Okay, finally got the cover loose. Peel it back, take it off, and then if you bent it trying to get it off, just bend it all back, and then when you put it back on, it'll snap into place. Put that aside. Unplug our Wi-Fi antennas. If you want to put them back in the same location, just simply mark them. We're going to put that board aside, and now we're going to replace it. Okay, so let's move this out of the way so you can see the boards. This is the board that I took out, and this is the board that I'm putting in. This is a new board from a Hubsan Zino that had other manufacturer defects. So this was sent to me as a replacement along with a new camera. So we're going to put this one in, and as you can see, it has all the silicone and stuff on it. So it is not a brand new board, but it is out of a new quad, a new Xeno that had defects. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to plug in our barometer, and I am going to remove this glue some. I find it easier to do this with the board out and not in the quad. So we're going to plug it back in, and I'm going to do this and come back to you because it's not easy to do. So we're just plugging this into the board. Okay, so now we're plugged back in. Make sure you have that rubber pad still there. And there's our barometer. Just let it kind of sit there like that. We don't want to attach it yet. And make sure you have all your little pads. You want one for this one too, which in my case is under the cover. So it will go like that. So all our pads are in place, and we're ready to hook it back up to the appropriate places. First, we're going to plug this back into here. Okay. Hold our antennas aside and pull the gimbal connectors up, just like that. Okay, so now it's sitting back in place. We're going to hook up our antennas, but it's probably best if we go ahead and secure the board first. So let's put those screws in so the board's nice and tight while we're hooking everything back up. So now we're just reversing the process. Where did I put that other screwdriver? Right in front of me. Now the board is secure. Let's go ahead and hook up the gimbal. These need to be slid back a little bit in order for them to snap into place. Hopefully you can see this. It's hard for me to do it and show you at the same time. Just these two plugs. This one and then right here. I'm going to plug those in. Okay. Lay this back on its side. We're going to hook up this power one. Again, don't force it, just be careful. You'll feel it click. So now that's hooked up, and we're going to hook up our Wi-Fi antennas. Again, you'll just feel those snap into place too. These are actually sometimes the hardest thing to get back into place. Let's get that wire pushed down. Okay, now we're going to take our cover, now that we have it all straightened out, put it on here at the bottom first, and then press this end down and it'll snap into place. Just like that. And now we can put this cover back into place. You've got these here that will push against you. I go like this and slide them back. And snap that into place. Now we can put the barometer back into its location. I already have the screws in, so just have to tighten them up. Okay, back in place. That's hooked up, everything is nicely hooked up. Just give everything a look. One thing I forgot to put back is I forgot to put this back. So underneath here, you want to make sure you put that back. I'm going to do that right now and then I'll come back. Okay, so now we have it. We have that piece back underneath there. Everything is fastened. And we just put everything back together. We put the cover back on, we put our power button and all that back on. So you take your cover and you plug it in to the board. And the 2 plugs, remember. I know you can't see, but this is pretty hard to show you. I can't even see it myself. Okay, the screws are in place. And now we are going to replace these 2 screws. Put that little piece of plastic back in place and get it to lay down. Don't forget to put your tabs back in place. Remember, they are sticky, so you want to line them up. I'll do that later. It's just too hard to line up. I want to make sure those are perfect, but put those back in place, then put your label back over top of it. Same for that side. And put our power button back in. Okay. And snap the cover on. Power button moved on me. Okay, all that's back in place, nice and smooth. Flip it over, and one screw, if you remember, did not come out. It's still in there. Put that screw in. Put this guard back in. Keep the screw in it. It's a lot easier to do it that way. It goes into a track, just like that. Tighten the screw. Keep your screws in this bracket. Set it down into place. Tighten those screws down. And you are done. You now have replaced your main board. For this case, my Wi-Fi module was burned out, so now we have a new board. After you have replaced it, the board will come with firmware already loaded on it. You want to double check that within your app, see what your firmware is. I recommend, no matter what, even if the firmware that you want is loaded on the board already, I recommend you go ahead and do a new firmware update and do your compass calibration, your horizontal calibration, and you should be good to go. You'll just put your battery in and you'll power it up. And we're back in business. I just hook it up to my Wi-Fi, my app and controller, and make sure everything's working fine. So hopefully this helps you if you ever have to replace the main board within your Hubsan Zino. And if you're new to my videos, please click that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. And all you subscribers, thank you for subscribing, and look forward to my next video. Thank you.